When I was a little boy, I remember my mom once reading to me an article about cancer and life-threatening diseases that people are dying from all over the world. And that was the first time I ever heard about something like that. And as a child, I got really scared because I thought this could happen to me any moment and I might die. I might never see my parents again. And I remember that week I couldn't sleep because I was terrified. And I remember believing as a little boy that one day when the good people of the world and all the doctors find a cure for all disease, that it would surely be trumpeted from the tallest tower of the tallest keep of the tallest mountain, and we would all know about it instantly all over the world. And of course, as you grow up, you learn that that's not how the world works. Hi, I'm Castor Maciej-Postawski, and my whole life I've been involved with sharing breakthroughs to people. Things that could make a profound difference on this planet and solve huge problems. I found out very early on in my life that all the solutions to the biggest problems we face today, they're already there. But for whatever reason, they've just been violently suppressed by corporate greed and other means and other institutions that just didn't want to see this stuff out there. This movie is about a small band of individuals that have done something amazing. They found the cure for cancer, AIDS, diabetes, malaria, the common cold, herpes, Parkinson's, arthritis, pretty much every disease that exists on this planet today and plagues humanity. And it's a story about their journey and what they've done against insurmountable odds to get it out there on a massive scale. And you know what? It's pretty hard to believe because what you're about to see is so massively changing on a personal and a global level. And because this is so simple, it's so easy, it's so cheap, it's available everywhere, and it cures the diseases not in years or decades, but in hours, days, weeks, and in extreme cases, months. But it's true. So I invite you to please watch the rest of this video and hear from people who've experienced this directly in their own life and let your heart decide.
So I'd had Lyme disease for about 9 years, and it got so bad that if I got down on the floor, I'd have to crawl over to something to pull myself up. But MMS took care of it. It's the only thing that does take care of it sensibly. Cost me $25, you know. And since then, I've talked to dozens of people who have spent thousands and thousands of dollars in 20 and 30 years and has still got it just as bad as ever, if not a little worse.
MMS was what I was searching all my life. Something that can be given, like when I do not know what to do with a person, really I do not know what to tell them to do or to give. MMS is my rescue, and it works all the time because they have parasites they do not know. Most of them, you know, most of us do have diseases because of bacteria. So when I do not know, and I tell them, I'll be honest with you, I do not know what to do, so just take MMS. It's always the one that saves me from any trouble, and it does work.
I've used it on kids from sunburns to wasp stings to we've taken off stuff from, you know, different growths on the head and the face of my brother and just different family members. We've used it for a lot of different things now. So
it's my chronic sinusitis cleared up. I have a full thickness tear in my rotator cuff over here. The doctors, when they look with the MRI for the cancer, they see that rotator cuff and they've seen it's gotten worse. And he's like, I can't believe you're not in a lot of pain. And I said, well, I think pain comes from inflammation.
Exactly.
And that cleared up off my whole body.
It's safe because it's an oxidizer and because you handle oxidation, otherwise you could not live on oxygen. That's number one. And then you look at the breakdown products. What does it break down into? Very simple natural compounds that aren't a problem.
About 2.5 months of doing that protocol, I finally was healed, and I can say that I've been healed for the last 4 years. I haven't had any outbreaks I've been MRSA free. I get cuts, this and that. Anything happens, bruises, and nothing gets infected. So I could say that I've been totally cured of MRSA because of MMS, and that is my testimony.
I'm convinced that the MMS has helped me in a great way. I don't know why people want to rubbish it, and I guess there's a lot of vested interests on the other side that don't want MMS to work. I don't know. I can't deal with that. I just have to worry about myself and what I do in my life, and I got to get rid of the cancer. And so far, it looks like MMS is the only way that I know how to do that.
Man, he had 6 months. The doctors gave him 6 months to live. And, after about 2 weeks of doing the MMS2, he had the Herxheimer reaction, which scared me to death because I'm telling him what to do and what to take. But it cured his cancer.
Try that route first. You can always fall back if you don't have any success with the alternate route. You can always fall back to the allopathic or the conventional medicine or the chemo. But I would highly recommend that you try something else before you get on chemo, because you are going to be a sick dog when you get on that chemo.
She had a finger that was permanently bent like this with arthritis. It was just this one finger. And then her arm over here was just as stiff, and it's been stiff for like 5 years. Wow. Couldn't hardly move it. It pained her. 3 days after taking MMS, her fingers limber as it could be, her arms working up and down, and she's happy as a lark.
I started using CDS with DMSO and making douches with it, taking Protocol 1000, and on 17th of May 2012 the sonogram showed that I am cleared and I have no more cyst. So I just can tell you, use it. Use it.
I appreciate the kind words. This is a lot bigger than me, for sure. You want me to tell my story because I'm a skeptic at heart, okay? About 8 years ago, I was a missionary pilot, a long time before that, but 8 years ago, in Dominican Republic, in Haiti, we were working with doctors from different places, from Johns Hopkins to different hospitals around the world. They come down and these doctors would spend their vacations and help us operating on people with hernias. You know, you've seen those big hernias on children and things like that. More like a mechanic, you know, helping fix some problems, and really good people. And I really appreciate them sacrificing their time. But during that time, myself and my children contracted MRSA, which is a staph infection that it's a flesh-eating bacteria, you know, that just goes crazy through your body. And most people get it in a hospital. So it's a known fact that many people die of this. What really concerned me, not just having it, is my children having it. And we had at that time the best antibiotics known to man from these surgeons. I mean, really expensive ones. One injection would last a week after they operate on people to keep infection out of their body. We tried everything, didn't touch it. Big boils, you'll see later on what it looks like, but big boils throughout your body. My second son, Jonathan, was playing baseball in the Dominican Republic, and he got it on his leg. And the surgeons told me, if it gets much worse, because he was these big boils, we're gonna have to cut off his leg to save his life. I told my son that, and he's like, Dad, that ain't gonna happen. I'll die first, you know. So I went on this quest into the internet. Thank God for the internet. I went on this quest looking for natural cures, because the pharmaceuticals weren't doing it, for MRSA. Ran across this book saying something about a miracle and didn't really think about it. Kept looking. I wanted a lot of facts and proof, and kept coming back to this book talking about a miracle. And they offered the book free, the first half, so I read it, and I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. Let me get the rest of the book, and let me get this stuff. And make a long story short, I got it, tried it, make sure it wouldn't kill me before I gave it to my kids. And no problem. Back then we were taking a lot stronger. I got a little diarrhea, but got rid of my MRSA. Started giving it to my children. Within 6 months, the whole family's clean. And that was 8 of my children. I have 8 children. The only one who didn't get it was my wife. And some people just don't get it. Some people have a good immune system. They just don't get it. So after doing that, I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. I'm going to start telling the neighborhood. I'm in Dominican Republic. I'm around near Haiti. I'm around all these different people from elephantitis to HIV to high blood pressure to strokes. We start giving it to the people. I start learning how to make it. And all these people are getting better. This guy here, look, it's a crazy disease. It's an autoimmune deficiency. Big growth on the side of his face. It took about 45 days to clean this guy up. Looking like that to going to where he looks like now. Just following the protocols. This was a spider bite from the jungle, and it was sent to us. And horrible. Look at how just flesh, whatever it is, the poison just eating away the flesh. And now look at it. Healed up well, and amazing. It's just, I'm sure that person's pretty happy now. This, we don't know what it was. This guy came to one of our helpers down there in South America with this thing on his leg. He has diabetes, but I don't think it's related. But whatever it caused, it really didn't matter, because you can see he was very horrible, very hot, and he said it was very sore. And then you can see him standing up. Look at it at the end. Looks like a new foot, okay? And when you detox the body, and the body the circulatory system starts working right, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, everything starts working right and eliminates the problem. Well, look at this. This is a cat. Look at the tumor in that cat's eye. I think it was 12 days, I think they said. And look at the end result. Animals all over the world we've been dealing with really respond quickly. I guess they're not as toxic. They probably have a better immune system than humans. And look at great.
So if you're watching this right now, you're probably thinking, if you're anything like me and you're seeing this for the first time, how is this possible? How does this work? And why don't I know about this already? Why is not everyone aware of this? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But the real question is, if you found this out, like Jim Humble did, what would you do? Would you climb the highest mountain and broadcast this to the whole world, saying that you have the cure for disease? Well, in these days, that's a fast track to getting killed, getting a bullseye on your head. What Jim Humble did is something very, very clever. He purposely positioned this in a way so that it would get ridiculed, so that it would be laughed at. And that gave him time to gather evidence. It gave it time to spread and go into a grassroots effort.
When I first found this book, it was called Miracle Mineral Supplement. Mineral being, mineral. And I just said, no, this can't be true. It must be snake oil. It's got to be a scheme. But why would you call it a miracle? But after knowing the guy that named it, he told me I did it on purpose, Mark, because I didn't want people to take me serious. So we could get the book out. I could get into the hands of the people around the world, gather more evidence before we really became public with it. And that's basically, we're doing that more and more all the time.
So what is MMS? MMS is sodium chlorite. Not to be confused with sodium chloride, which is table salt. It sounds almost the same, but it's very, very different. Sodium chloride has been used for over 100 years in a variety of different industries to kill pathogens, to sterilize things, because it kills bacteria, germs, viruses very, very effectively. In fact, you've probably ingested it a number of times this week without even knowing it. It's used to purify water in the meat industry, food transportation, all over the world. See, what happens with sodium chloride is when you activate it with an acid like hydrochloric acid, which is the same acid that's in your stomach, used to digest food, or citric acid, it turns into something called chlorine dioxide. Now, chlorine dioxide is a very, very special molecule. It is an oxidant, just like oxygen. It kills pathogens, bad bacteria, viruses, very, very effectively. But what makes it very special is that It supports the body and the immune system like nothing out there that I've ever seen before. In the world of submicroscopic particles, it is like a torpedo with a selective warhead. It selectively targets all the bad guys in your body and leaves everything else alone. Now, how does it do that? It uses two things: electric charge and acidity. That's its own little homing device. It looks for pathogens, bacteria, viruses based on their acidity and their electric charge. That's how it can bypass good bacteria and go after the bad guys. You see, it's an oxidizer like oxygen, but what's magical about it is that it's weaker than oxygen. So it's strong enough to take care of all the pathogens, the viruses, the bad stuff in your body, the fungus, but it's weak enough that it leaves everything else alone. And it surrounds these pathogens, and through the process of oxidation, it electrically rips them apart by stealing their electrons. That's what oxidation is. But the real question is, how does this cure disease? How does this reverse diseases that we think are incurable up to now, like cancer, diabetes, hepatitis? Well, to understand that, you really got to take a step back and consider that everything we know about curing disease is much, much, much simpler than what we've been taught to believe by the establishment.
I guess I'm just a simple guy, but to me the problem is, the answer is simplistic. And what you do, we're living in the year 2015, let's go back to 1880, 1870, before we have this big AMA medical pharmaceutical push. Before that, we basically had in this world just a handful of patented diseases that, you know, like not even diabetes, excuse me, like pneumonia, polio, things like that, right? And most of the medicines were plant-based. Okay, we didn't have the autism, we didn't have the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, the diabetes like it is. I mean, we didn't have the cancer rate like it is. You can go on and on through these different new diseases like Morgellons, lupus, all these ones that we have now. Now we have today over 500,000 patented medicines and over 10,000 diseases. What's changed? Thousands of years, millenniums, we didn't have it, now we have it over this last 150 years. What's changed? What is dis-ease? Just break down the word. The body's at dis-ease, it's diseased. There's something wrong in this body, and we get all these symptoms popping up. Me, Jim, have talked about this in depth with other people, and we're getting a lot of people coming to our seminars that are experts and chemists and doctors, and they're confirming this. You have a disease, one disease, the disease of the body, but two reasons: toxicity and deficiencies, okay? And I've heard other people say this too, and I'm like, wow, this is great. They're saying the same things we're saying. How did the toxicity get in? Through the water, through the air, the fluoride, the chlorine, the mercury in the vaccines. Hear this voice? Just because I'm from Boston, I wasn't in the mafia, okay? But I got a vaccine in 1976 for swine flu. 2 weeks later, going from an opera singer to this. No, I'm just kidding about the opera. But I had a good voice, really did. And 2 weeks later, paralyzed this side of me. Well, just look at the inserts of what's in these vaccines, okay? Vaccines, the toxicity in the air, in the foods, the processed foods. They ate raw milk back then. They raw cheese. You know, they grew their own. No, everything was organic. The pesticides, the glyphosate, whatever you call it, from Monsanto and these different companies, the GMOs, and now we have all these diseases. So, what we do is really simple. We take those toxins out. Guess what? The body starts working better. The immune system that's suppressed from these toxins, we feed that immune system, which, by the way, only the immune system cures you. Please remember that. I mean, you can literally attack hell with a squirt gun, so to speak, health-wise, if you have a strong immune system. You know, the fats and the proteins and the good organic foods and the clean food, live, clean food that's not polluted. And so we build up the immune system and detoxify the body, and guess what? All these things are going away. And we've got plenty of testimonies to prove it.
And the glaucoma has now stopped, and this is now 5 years later, and the glaucoma hasn't progressed anymore.
I am so happy just how much better I feel, both psychologically because I saw it, but also physically, just to know that I'm free of those little critters wanting to eat food and eat me. I'm more clear-headed.
As of a few days ago, I've been eating tons of different raw fruits and veggies, no issues at all, so it's a pretty mind-blowing experience.
20 years of an allergy gone, and so...
3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. 3 weeks.
And I could breathe differently. Deeper, of course, deeper. And yeah, very, very intense. I didn't see that coming.
I've seen big improvement. One thing I haven't mentioned is that the lung problem seems to be completely recovered. The guts are no longer in constant pain anymore, and they're even sometimes feeling good. And I'm adding to my diet.
In January, she really turned a corner, and her ATEC went down very low. It was like down to 13. It was amazing, really. We were just amazed. The school was amazed. They said, it must have something to do with that mineral water.
So how simple is it really? Well, it's really just one drop, one drop. Put 1 drop of MMS in a glass and 1 drop of the activator, which in this case is HCl, hydrochloric acid. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to put 2 extra drops of each so that you can see on camera what happens. 2 extra drops of MMS and 2 extra drops of HCl. And if you look closely here with the camera, we'll get a close-up. What you're supposed to do is wait a good 30 seconds, and it begins to turn a little green, a little yellow. And you can actually smell the chlorine dioxide off-gassing right now. So it's prime time to add your water and drink. It doesn't taste the best, but it works. That's how simple it is. 1 drop, 1 drop. But of course, it's not that simple, because there are people out there who are heavily threatened by this. Like I said in the beginning, if you can walk in there into a hospital, into hospice, and for 25, 50 bucks, cure something in a matter of weeks or months that they say is incurable, maybe with a small chance, if you do a special treatment and pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for treatments and drugs, that's not going to go over so easy. And right now they're involved in a heavy effort to hide the truth from the public, to prey on people's ignorance, and bury this once and for all.
You know, one of the things that people have done is to use the words chlorine and chlorine dioxide synonymously.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, as though they're the same thing, even though one is a constituent of the other.
Yeah, and one's a very reactive compound. The other can react, but, you know, chlorine, they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're so different. Once you add dioxide to something, it's very different. It's like, it would be like saying sodium chloride, salt, is the same as chlorine, which is, you know,
right,
extremely, you know, off. They're related chemically, but one you've got the single element, and the other you've got a combination, sodium and chloride, the ion, and very, very different. I mean, we're made of chloride. The ocean's made of chloride. If you turn that all into chlorine, well, you would not be alive. And so that's not correct. I think people will do that, but I think that's one of those initial obstacles that somebody tries to throw up, but it really doesn't have much, you know, power to it. And the very fact that it's got all these industrial applications means it's not unknown in the world, mm-hmm. and it's used for similar applications. Now we're simply converting it to a biological way. Why is it safe biologically? Because there's most stuff that's used industrial is not going to be something you want to put in your body. It's safe because it's an oxidizer, and because you handle oxidation, otherwise you could not live on oxygen. That's number one. And then you look at the breakdown products. What does it break down into? Very simple natural compounds that aren't a problem. You can handle that amount of oxidation, but the viruses can't.
So you've just heard the doctor talking about this, getting amazing results. But I'm telling you, there's very, very few doctors and healthcare practitioners who are willing and are brave enough to talk about this like this man just did. And why is that? Well, at this point, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has made MMS illegal. They're telling people that it's poison. Anybody who's talking about it, selling it, is a criminal, and they should be sent to jail, and that this is dangerous bleach. We'll talk about that in a minute, but basically, at this point, if you still believe that there is no conspiracy going on between the Food and Drug Administration, the big pharmaceutical corporations, and your government, then sorry to say, you may have been sleeping under a rock for the past 25 years. It's all one and the same entity. The people at the highest level of government, people at the highest level in the pharmaceutical corporations, and the people at the highest level in the Food and Drug Administration are all the same people. They're just trading seats with one another, enforcing laws, and working together to essentially make a killing, make a lot of money.
The very word pharmaco from the Greek means poison makers. So they poison you. That's what they believe. They use poison to kill the bad things in your body. It's not the way to go. Poison yourself. So you save a lot of money, time, effort. My time's worth something to me. I don't want to go to the doctor once a month. Come in for a checkup. I don't want to know why. I'm feeling great. Yeah, but let's find something. Because I guarantee you, if I take a blood test, I will find something. This is with the doctor. We'll find something. We'll go, you looks like, brother, you have a little high cholesterol. Did you know that 80% of your cells are made of cholesterol? It's like going to a gas station and say, look at this gas station. They have gas here. Yeah. Different times of the day, your body's producing cholesterol to do different things. And that's a big scam. They call it bread and butter. The cholesterol, the diabetes, and the high blood pressure. They pay all their bills with those three things. And they're fake. They're made up, and they're manipulated by fear from their blood tests. And you don't need that. You're the doctor. Your body tells you, oh, I got that pain. It doesn't come up on a blood test. I got a pain in my back. So they're looking for something, and they can manipulate those blood tests. I see it all the time. They can do it.
They've even passed a law in the 90s saying that to cure a disease, only a drug can be used. Only a drug can cure or treat a disease. So if you go out there and start promoting natural cure that works, that they can't patent, they will do anything in their power to prevent it from getting out to the public. If you go out there with vitamin C and start saying in a public announcement, vitamin C cures scurvy, which is common knowledge, they'll come at you with a gun to your head saying, sir, you're making claims, you're going to jail. And this is because they can't patent it. They can't patent chlorine dioxide. They can't patent MMS, and it threatens their bottom line. To get an idea of how much money is at stake is beyond belief. I can't even comprehend it myself. I mean, it's billions of dollars. One pill alone makes $3 to $6 billion for a company like Prozac, for example. $3 to $6 billion. And these are figures from a decade ago. I don't even know where it is at right now. And pharmaceuticals, properly prescribed pharmaceuticals, are the 5th leading cause of death right now in the US alone. Think about that for a moment. The 5th leading cause of death. Hundreds of thousands of people die from pharmaceuticals every single year. And that's legal. And yet something like this that comes along and does all these great things, and that's illegal. You think there might be something else going on here in the background. You see, if you can come in there and for $25 solve something that they want you and other people to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for, what does that make you? Public enemy number one. And they're willing to do anything to annihilate whatever stands in their path to make profit, including murder and genocide. So if you think that's outrageous, it gets even better. There is a leaked documentary on YouTube that the Red Cross and the big pharmaceutical corporations do not want you to see. It happened in Uganda in 2012 in December. people at the lower levels of the Red Cross, lower levels of command, heard about what Jim Hubble was doing. And these are people who actually believe the Red Cross is doing what they claim to be doing, like helping people and trying to cure disease. So they went out there and they said, why don't we give MMS to people and see if it works? People with malaria. And they went in there and they identified 154 patients who were positive for malaria. They gave them all MMS under controlled circumstances. And in 24 to 48 hours, they cured everybody of malaria.
We do a little blood test, just a little boop, prick. And then we do a quick strip malaria test. In total, we identified 154 malaria positive patients, together with the local health authorities and the doctors. All of them were treated. All of them were between 24 hours and 48 hours malaria negative, without any side effects.
So all of them were positive yesterday? Now,
yes.
Now they are,
yes. Now they are negative.
Yes. I'm excited because of the instant results that are happening among all the people that we have so far tested. It is incredibly unbelievable to see that somebody tested of malaria positive yesterday turns up to be negative today and feels quite extremely better and more happy and healthier.
And what's sad is that after word got up to the higher levels of command that this has been done, they suppressed the whole thing. To say it never happened, nobody was ever there. They even went as far as telling people that it was a hoax and it was a joke, and the people there in their shirts were just there for fun. They were just bystanders. They put their shirts on to put the whole thing together. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Even the narrator of the film, who is a ex-veteran of the Belgian army, ex-director of one of the Virgin Airlines, said it never happened. It was never. I was never even there. So that's how far they're willing to go to suppress the evidence.
If I can make a comment there, since we did that, about 3 million people have died. You know, and half of those are kids.
Yeah.
It's just unnecessary deaths. You know, it's sad to see it. Usually Africa, they go, oh, it's just Africa. We don't have a malaria in the States, but that many people have died. They could be alive today. You know, the pressure, they get supported by the WHO, UN, other organizations around the world. And so basically, when you get up high enough, the high people didn't know that this was done by the local people in Uganda. And when they found out, they go, no, 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 we can't let this out, because they're involved in preparing a vaccine for malaria, which costs a lot of money, developing, giving it to the countries, and selling it to the countries. So this is a cheap 5 cents, you know, to make it and do it and bottle it and give it to the people, and plus purify their water at the same time. And obviously it's not conducive to business or the people that back them. It's the only reason. There's no other reason.
So there's 3 main reasons why people don't use MMS. Number 1, either they just don't know about it. Number 2, they don't know how to use it properly. Or number 3, like in the case of most people, they've been unlucky enough to get totally misinformed and lied to about truth by the government, the FDA. Now, despite all that, despite the insurmountable odds against him and his organization, and sadly enough, even one assassination attempt on Mark's life, here's a guy that just goes out there and says, you know what, screw this, we're going to go out there and do it anyway. We're going to go out there and heal people and get evidence, videotape it, photograph it, get stories, and then show the world what this truly is. And in over 5 years right now, they're now in over 115 countries, and they've healed hundreds of thousands of people from cancer, HIV, AIDS, malaria, diabetes, Parkinson's, arthritis, the common cold, and herpes, if I didn't mention that already. I mean, everything under the sun that plagues humanity on this planet today, basically. And they've got hundreds of video testimonials to date documenting all this. And so when I met him, you know, I asked him, how are you doing this? How are you still alive? How have you not been shut down? And the answer is pretty awesome. and I'll let Mark share it, but basically he's using the same system that they created to imprison us against them to get freedom.
Being a missionary pilot, when Jim came from Africa and we started the seminars, really before we started seminars, he had an idea, let's start a mission or a church or something, and when he came to me, I was already doing that. So I said, yeah, let's start a church, because a lot of people don't understand this. The medical system is under these laws and statutes and codes that are all set up to protect their monopoly of the medical group and the pharmaceuticals. But the church isn't in that box. The church is under no law. That's why you can go to a church and get political asylum. A priest can give a kid alcohol, minor, in public and not get arrested. You don't see priests in court because it's different. There's the box that they own, and the church is totally different. Ecclesiastical law, natural law, whatever you want to call it, but we're completely out of their box, okay? So we started the church, the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing, non-religious. We didn't want to be religious at all because I want a Muslim to come and learn how to take care of his family. I want an atheist to come and take care of his little girl dying of leukemia. You know, I want him to see his grandkid born one day. I want anybody to come. It has nothing to do with religion. And this is the first church in the world that lets anybody come. No doctrine. It's basically protocols, sacraments that we take to take care of our temple, which is our God-given right. Well, what happened is that when they kicked in the door and I told them they just broke into a religious service. I mean, we're having a church service here. That was a capital crime, and wars were started from that. But I really felt like these people are just puppets, you know? They've been sent here. So we asked the police to have them leave, and they did. And I said, come back when I'm done, because I really want to explain to you people why we're doing what we're doing, why we started the church. And you have sick kids, or you might, maybe not now, but you're interested in health. So I want to tell you why we're doing it, and what we're doing it, and why we're not going to listen to you. That's why we could say heal. We could say treat. We don't have to have disclaimers. And you're being dictated to, not you, your agency, and you're here, based upon defending their pharmaceuticals, really. That's really what's happening. But I won't argue it, okay? So you got the powers told you to come here and stop these people from selling or anything because we don't approve it. Well, I don't need your approval. And so we had them leave, and you said we videotaped them, but I'm not against government. I wasn't against those people that came to me. They're just workers, okay? They're trying to make a living. I'm against who sent them and what their objectives are and goals are to stop us and why. And we're not letting it happen as a church. So now, 5 years since we started this church, we're in 115 countries. We have almost 1,800 health ministers, we call them, that are trained up to do all the protocols. And we've got 180-something churches throughout the world in 5 years. So another 5 years, I hope we cover the whole world. And a grassroots movement to just show people very easily and inexpensively how to control their own health.
So if MMS really is as dangerous as they say it is, this poison that's killing everybody according to the FDA, then where are all the dead bodies? There are none. There hasn't been a single death from the proper use of MMS as instructed since '96. When it's been discovered as an effective cure for malaria by Jim Humble. Where is all the negative feedback? Where is it? I mean, if you really dig in online to all the forums, YouTube posts, comments, Facebook, you see that most of the feedback is positive, and if at worst, neutral. There's people saying, it didn't taste so good, but I don't have hepatitis anymore. So there's people curing themselves with this stuff all over the world, and it's a mystery that it still hasn't exploded, but I think that's about to happen.
Yeah, I think it's coming out now. I think most people see it. Back in the late 20s, early 30s, they started backing all the medical schools, the big people in the world like the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, and they started supporting these schools and started teaching pharmaceutical, the allopathic method, poison. Chemo come from mustard gas. They saw that it killed the whole organism, so it definitely killed the cancer, right? It does, but it kills you. It's like killing a tree in the middle of a forest and burning down the whole forest to kill the one tree. That's not the way to do it. And anything that you have to wear a hazmat suit to make it, I don't want to inject it in me. So we got all these things coming along, and all the money that's made from it. So all the medical school books that are written, I'd say all, but majority of them are written by the pharmaceuticals. So they have a vested interest in getting the doctors to be trained to basically be drug pushers, pharmaceutical representatives. And people are coming out now. There's pharmaceutical representatives that can't sleep at night because they know what these drugs do. And learn this. Read whatever drug you're taking or looking at, read the insert from the company. Cause autism, causes cancer, da-da-da-da. They're telling you what they're doing with this. And now, so to answer your question, I don't want to get off in a rabbit trail because we got plenty of time. But so now they're lobbying to get bills passed so that only you can take a medicine that's approved by the FDA. So they're all in cahoots together. CDC has come out and they've been found guilty of pressing information. They pay for studies with results they want for the drug they're using.
What is shocking is what could happen if we don't take action about this, if we don't collectively band together as humankind on this planet and speak about this, speak about the truth. There is already an approved patent for using chlorine dioxide, MMS, for treating HIV. They're trying to patent it. Remember, the reason why they want it outlawed is because they can't patent it, because they can't make money on it, but they're trying to find a way to do it, because they just can't keep a lid on this for too long. I mean, this is a panacea. And this is how the industry operates. First, they annihilate the competition by outlawing it and villainizing anybody who's putting it out there. And then, usually years later, they creep in through the back door and they put a twist on it, they rename it, and they sell it back to us for a millionfold profit. And this could happen. We could see that MMS is wiped off the map, and more people will be silenced, more people will be in prison, like in the case of Daniel, separated from their families, people that really are amazing people trying to do good for the planet, and they're suffering big time, and their families are. And more people will die that don't need to die, people that could be alive and well, living happy lives. I, for one, don't want to see that happen. I personally think it's too late. I think that in the case of MMS, they've tried, this is like the nail in the coffin for them right now, the whole pharmaceutical industry. I mean, in 10 years from now, if we really band together and do this, we could really see the end of disease on this planet. Really, truly. And it's right here in front of you. We just have to reach out and grab it. And go out there and spread the news and talk about this. The best thing you can do is not go to war, not put up a picket sign and protest. That's just being a martyr and going against the will of that whole negative force. The best thing you can do is to go out there and speak about it. Share it with your friends. Do it yourself personally, and then share your story with others. That's what Mark's been doing right now for the past 5 years. And in 5 years, they're now in 115 countries. They've cured more cancer, diabetes, and life-threatening diseases than anybody I've ever heard of or met in my whole life.
That's what we do. When we get any kind of money, donations and stuff, we spread it out and get more people established. I've had my own airplane, I've had the house on the coast. I don't care about that anymore. I want to work with getting people the power in their hands. That's what we want to do. At least get this and get the MMS in your hand, and then by doing it, you'll want to learn more because you'll be helping people. You'll just natural thing will happen is I want to do more. That's what happened to me. I cured my MRSA. I'm like, you know what? I got all these poor people around me. I need to do something. And I found out how easy it was. And then all these testimonies started coming in. We got to do something.
I knew about MMS for about 5 years before today. And I heard all the rumors, I heard the stories, and being a pretty open-minded guy into health, into cleansing, I really wasn't interested in it. I just heard it was some intense cleanse and some random wild stories, so I was kind of like, whatever. And even when I met Mark and heard what he was doing and saw the evidence, I was like, wow, this is awesome, but still something didn't really quite click for me. It wasn't clicking. Until one morning, we were there in a coffee shop together, and he took out his Samsung phone and he just showed me a photo. And he said, you know, here's a guy we've been working with in Paraguay a while ago, and here he was dying of prostate cancer, and he showed me this picture. And then it began to hit home for me, because this man looked exactly like my late grandfather Stan, who passed away 8 years ago from the same thing, prostate cancer. As I heard Mark talking, he flipped the phone to the next picture, and he said, oh, well, we put him on the MMS protocol for cancer, and here he is 2 weeks later sitting in a wheelchair. He's now kind of able to smile and look at people and connect with life. And then he flipped the phone again to the next few pictures, and here he is 6 months later, alive and well. Plump and happy, smiling. And it really started to connect with me then, and I really felt like we had to get this out there and do something about this. It hit home for me in my personal life, because my grandfather died in a lot of pain, in agony, without dignity. And unlike this other guy who was lucky enough to find out about MMS, he didn't. I didn't know how to use it properly back then, didn't know enough. Had I known what I know now today, back then, I could have probably saved his life, made him live a happier, longer life, prolonged his existence on this planet. And there are so many people out there in the same boat, suffering, dying needlessly, and it could all be better. So after that, I went home, I poured myself a bottle of MMS, and I did a basic cleansing protocol. First 4 days was a little challenging. I felt a lot of toxins coming out of my body. I just wanted, the standard reaction from detoxing. And then on the 5th day, I felt amazing. I felt so much energy. I felt so much clearer. It actually instigated something. I started exercising again. I hadn't been working out back then for like 2 years. I just got back into my exercise routine, started thinking clearly, started thinking about what I could do to get this out there. And that was a major pivotal point in my life.
This usually costs $20 to $30, and it lasts you 2 or 3 months. How much the average person spends on medical insurance and health and medicines and health in their family? It's about $9,000. This will cost you about, for a year, let me say about 2 bottles, about $40 to $50 for a year, personally. And you can maybe buy a couple if you wanted for the big family. That's it. And we eliminate the pharmaceuticals, the toxins, eliminate the doctor visits, the co-pays, all the things they're trying to push on us. And it'll relieve you financially by doing this. Once you detox, you don't really have this. I don't get sick anymore. My kids don't get sick anymore. And if we do feel something coming on, like, a cold, a little flu, we just hit it hard for a couple hours that day or maybe the next, it's gone. And so financially, it makes a big sense. What, less than $50 for this, how to do it, and $20, $30 for a couple months supply? What's that? Less than $100, you're taking care of your own health.
This is about a message that there is a simple cure out there for disease. And it may sound hard to believe, but my whole life, I found over and over again that all the solutions to the biggest problems on this planet today, they're already out there. There's answers out there, but they've usually, like in the case of MMS, they've been violently suppressed by corporate greed and interest. And that's what's been happening with MMS. Now, the main reason why we found that people don't use MMS or they don't get the benefits with it that they could get is because they just don't know how to use it properly. MMS is a very powerful medicine, and The worst thing you can do is go out there and get excited about it, and take it home and mix it, and take a one-time ultra-heroic dose in an epic attempt to heal yourself of what you're suffering from. Now, as silly as that sounds, I've heard so many stories of people doing that, and most people do that, and then they go, oh my gosh, it didn't feel so good, I don't know about this stuff. MMS is a very powerful medicine. It's meant to be taken over a longer period of time with specific protocols, one bit at a time, depending on how you're sick and with what you're sick with. So what we did with Mark is we created a step-by-step video program to show anybody how to use MMS properly. See, by now there's over a dozen different protocols that have been used and developed. You can take it orally, you can put it on your skin with a certain type of tree oil, you can even inhale it in the case of lung infections and to detox your lungs. It's pretty remarkable what you can do with that. So there's specific protocols, and we've created a step-by-step video program to share those with you and make it really easy for you to use this and utilize this technology. I mean, even your 9-year-old kid or 6-year-old kid, as long as they know how to read and learn and can sit and watch this, can pick this up and in a few hours go out there and start healing people. That was the goal with this, and we're very happy that we've created this. These are the same protocols that have been used to cure cancer, diabetes, HIV, AIDS, malaria, diabetes, Parkinson's, herpes, the common cold, MRSA, bacterial infections all over the world with amazing success, as you've seen in this video. And they're out here and they're available for you right now. And you know what? It may sound too good to be true. It might sound too simple, too easy. But I'm here to tell you, it is that easy. And if you look back through history, every single revolution on this planet that has ever happened has always happened from normal, simple people just standing up for the truth and doing simple things to change the world. We have this delusion that big problems require big solutions. And that's why we've been hoaxed into believing that all these organizations and pharmaceutical companies are doing the right thing. They're spending billions of dollars developing cures. Well, here you can do the same thing for 25 bucks, for 40 bucks. And it's hard to believe. But if you look through history, it's always been that case. In the case of the civil rights movement, one woman just decided, you know what, I will not sit in the back of the bus anymore. This ends here today. And that snowballed the whole thing. In the case of freeing India from the British Empire, one guy just decided, I'm going to walk across India and show everybody else that we can make salt for ourselves and get it from the ocean. And that snowballed the whole thing and began that whole thing. And in the case of ending worldwide disease, could it really be as simple as this here right now, what you have seen? I think it is. And that's why we decided to make this movie and get this out there, because I think after 20 years of lies, of cover-ups, people being in prison, people being killed, millions of people being murdered by viruses and disease that could have been cured, I think it's time. I think it's time for people to know the truth. I think it's time we collectively get together and say, you know what, there is a better way. Somewhere out there, there are people dying needlessly. People are suffering in pain and agony without hope. There's a father or a mother with a daughter or son dying from leukemia. And I can only imagine the pain of that, as I have a daughter myself. Watching children look at you saying, Dad, Mom, I don't want to leave you, I don't want to die. But they can't do anything about it. They don't know. What do you think would happen if you went out there and started telling people there is hope for your child? That we can create a better future, that your child can survive, your father, your mother can survive, you can live, you can cure this, like this, just with these 2 bottles. I mean, some people will be, they won't believe it, but many people will, and they are, and this is growing, this is becoming a global movement. It's happening. Many people always say that, you got to be the change that you want to see in the world. And most people believe that means, be more loving, be more kind to your neighbor. Those are all great qualities in human beings, and I love to see that, but I don't think that's enough to change this planet. The planet I want to see is brave men and brave women going out there and willing to say the truth and speak about the truth, stand up for what is right, even if it means risking their lives. That's what I've aspired to do my whole life, and that's what I see here with this movement, what Mark has done. And we could sit here and look at the doom and gloom of it, but the reality is there is hope out there. The answer is right here in front of us. All we have to do is reach out and grab it.
I remember when I was a kid in the 70s, there was a group, they had this song, "I'd love to change the world, but I do not know what to do," by the group 10 years after. And I used to sing that song. I used to really think about it, going, I'd love to change the world. I'd love to be able to, well, it's happening. We're doing it.